What's up YouTube, MegaZX456 back at it again today to bring you a very special video, one to which I was planning on cranking out a few weeks ago on the anniversary of this system, but starting adulting, things came up, procrastination, you know, things go, and then it dawned on me that I've done a lot of content on this system in particular on my IG story and my Twitters with just pictures, screenshots, things of that nature, but I haven't done a thorough deep dive into the games I've amassed in the past 2.5 years. I've actually started doing my retro collection journey, so we're going to be fixing that today, of course, by going in depth with one of my favorite video game systems of all time. And what system will that happen to be? Why, it's none other than the great of one of my favorite top 3 systems of all time, Nintendo GameCube. And actually, this is the original box that I got back in November of 2001, if I remember correctly. So had this bad boy for the better half of 20 years. Damn, 20 years, that is, it's really setting in. I'm feeling old as hell now. But yeah, my original box that I got, toss that aside. I don't know why I did that. Sorry about that, baby. And I still got the original inserts that I had from back when it came out too, like the instruction manuals, the Nintendo, what is this? Sign up for a chance to win a GameCube. Well, I'm sure that's expired by now. And the AOL for broadband games. That's how you know this thing is old. They don't even have this thing anymore. But yeah, we're gonna go right into it. Let's show you the games that I've gotten in the past 2.5 years. So let's see what we've gotten so far. Ah yes, the Nintendo GameCube. Nintendo's first foray into the 6th generation of consoles that was touted to be a powerhouse compared to Sony's PS2 that released way back in the mythical year of 2000. Where Y2K was a thing, jobs was popping, the economy was looking oh so bright, and baggy clothes and 50 Cent in the club was all the rage. GameCube boasted an incredible amount of software throughout its life cycle, some of which we've never seen before in the company's history, and was considered to be by many Nintendo's last traditional home console. Which brings us here today, 20 years later, so let's go ahead and run the list of all the games I got for this beautiful, sexy, sleek box we got here. Ooh, love you, baby. I'll always love you. First up, we got X-Men Legends, one of my all-time personal favorites. I used to play the hell out of this back with my middle older brother back in the day. Every time we got out of school, we used to rush and play this thing together. The best thing I liked about this, it was 2 players. Well, you actually do 4 players on it, and we would just sit there and play. Second one is a launch title, which is Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2. Yeah, I knew I got the title right. Never played this initially when it first came out. Wasn't really a Star Wars fan like that, and the Star Wars games I did, like, I pretty much like the shooting a lot of people. I actually had to play in third person in order to get my just feel out of things like that, so I wasn't really into the whole fighter type thing. We just fly around the X-Wings and TIE Fighter, stuff like that, but heard a number of good things about it. Touted to be one of the greatest Star Wars games ever made. Second up, we got Summoner and Gods Reborn. Got this about 4 or 5 months ago. Not really too keen on the history on this game. I do hear it's kind of something similar to like a Dragon Age, if you're familiar with that franchise. Oh, here we go. Ooh, Spider-Man 2. This is touted to be one of the best Spider-Man games ever made. So before the Marvel Spider-Man that came out on PS4, people was talking about this, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. So definitely a classic. Ooh, a favorite, Robotech Battlecry. I actually had this originally on the PS2 when it first came out. I'm a big fan of the anime, or Macross, which is known as Japan. The best thing I liked about this, you control like different type of robots, or Vertex that they call them in the game. You can transform from robot mode, vehicle mode, to just a fighter jet, and something that was like a mixture of like a humanoid robot and a plane. But yeah, this is really good. Next up, we got Red Faction 2. I played the first Red Faction on the PS2 when it originally came out. I rented this back in the day when Blockbuster was still a thing and still around, you know, before the whole Netflix thing, but that's a different story. But Red Faction, I heard it was a pretty good game, especially compared to the first Red Faction. Haven't finished it myself. I played a little bit of it back in the day when I originally rented, but definitely plan on going back and playing this again one day. Hitman 2, not the first Hitman game I played when it originally came out. It was wasn't really too much of a fan of the Hitman game, so I can't really give credence on this. So if anybody knows anything about this, let me know. I plan on going back and playing it again one day. Well, here's a game I just picked up just because I thought the cover was cool. Desert Storm 2, Baghdad. Kind of reminded me something akin to Ghost Recon. I didn't broaden my horizon on more mature themed games like this, so I plan on going back and playing a lot of these. One of my personal favorites, Time Splitters Future Perfect. This game has come actually really hard to find and kind of expensive on the GameCube. The GameCube prices have been going up kind of consistently compared to like the other systems like PS2 and Xbox. Yeah, Time Splitters Future Perfect, great game. Time Splitters 2, now this is a classic as well. It's hard as hell though. This was back when you actually got a game over. That's pretty much game over. You got to restart the entire level. Ooh, back when sports games was still a good thing, and back when EA was actually making good games. SSX Tricky, one of my favorite sports games of all time. The best thing I liked about this when I originally played it, it was on the PS2. It was on the Underground PS2 demo disc thing they used to have back in the days, where PlayStation used to have magazines to where they gave you demo discs. I absolutely love this game. The GameCube version I heard was a little bit more stable in terms of the frame rates, and load times a lot quicker too. And damn, I got a lot more games to get through. NFL Street, got this last year. Definitely plan on going back into it. Like I said, this was back when actually EA made some really good sports games, so this one would be a pretty good football game to go back to. NFL Street Volume 3. The reason I wanted this one on GameCube was, of course, as you can see on top, there we go, Nintendo All-Stars. So we actually play with Mario, Peach, and Luigi. Woo-wee! This joint right here, this is incredible. For as short as these characters are, they had some ups on the game. Next up, we got NBA Street Volume 2. If I remember correctly, one of my friends, Ace, he said the reason that he wanted a GameCube was because this game came out about a few days, if not a few weeks earlier on the GameCube compared to like the Xbox and PS2. But I was hearing this one was one of the just best overall basketball games in general when it first came out. The original NBA Street. Now this is the one that I played. The two I showed you before, I didn't really play those as much as I played this one in particular. But man, back in the day, this was a jam. I absolutely love this game, and I would probably say this is my personal favorite basketball game of all time. Need for Speed Underground 2, which a lot of people say is the best Need for Speed game just released in the entire franchise's history. Wasn't really too much of a Need for Speed fan, so can't really say too much about this particular game. Freedom Fighters. I actually played this one when I first got on the Xbox. This was made by the exact same team, if I remember correctly, that made the Hitman games, but this game was pretty awesome. I never beat it back in the day, so I definitely plan on going back through it, completing it all the way through. We got The Sims 2, which was actually my first Sims game that I ever played. Wasn't really into the whole Sims thing back in the PC days when it was like really popular like that, but I do remember this being my first Sims game, and I absolutely loved it. Sims Busting Out. Never played this one. I bought it just because of just how the cover aesthetic looked. Never played it. Definitely plan on going back into playing this one day, so hopefully I'll enjoy it. Next up we got GoldenEye Rogue Agent. If I remember correctly, this one was just a compilation of other GoldenEye missions from like all the various movies that they had. So it wasn't technically an original game, it was just a game that had basically scenes from popular movies that they reenacted out through this one. A lot of these GameCube games I plan on just rebeating again one day when I got the time, but backlog's looking crazy. From Russia with Love. Don't know anything about this. All I remember was it was the last 007 game that was released on the GameCube, Xbox, and PS2, so the last one of that console generation. Oh, this one is 007, Everything or Nothing. This one's based off the movie. I heard that this is actually one of the best 007 games they ever made, and this was the first one they did in third person. Can't really say too much about it because I never really played this back in the day, but damn, now that I'm looking through my collection, there's a lot of games I just missed out in general, just how good they are. We got, this is actually my favorite 007 game of all time. I know people keep saying that GoldenEye is like their top when it comes to 007 games and the shooter games in general, but this one right here, Nightfire, this one was the best ones because you just had different aspects and different mechanics on the game to where you can actually create your own lobbies, create your own playlist. But yeah, absolutely love this one. This is my personal favorite GoldenEye game of all time. Agent Under Fire. I actually completed this one. This was one of the first games I got back when I started to build up my GameCube collection. Heard this one was pretty good. When I played it, it definitely showed its age, and in terms of gameplay aesthetics, it's not as good as the previous one that I was talking about, Nightfire, but still a pretty decent game. Next up is Medal of Honor European Assault. Haven't played this one, so I can't really say anything about this too much. There was only a handful of Medal of Honor games I played back in the day. Medal of Honor Rising Sun. I did play this one originally on the Xbox. The reason I love this one is because this one was actually co-op. One of the first co-op first-person shooter games in general that you can just play with a buddy. Back in the days, you actually had to have friends to play with. But yeah, this was an amazing game. Never finished it. Actually, a lot of games in this pile I've never finished before, so that'll definitely be something to look forward to. The first Medal of Honor that came on GameCube, Medal of Honor Frontlines. I remember I haggled the hell out of my mom back in, well, I can't remember what year it was, maybe like 2003 or so, but back in Blockbuster, she was pretty much content on just getting me games that was within my age demographic. So I was 11, so she was very hard on just saying no to T-rated games. Back then, I was only interested in a lot of the platformers, but now I have a better appreciation for games like that. Ooh, this one's a pretty rare find indeed. Def Jam, Fight for New York. I ain't gonna lie, when I first heard about this game back in the day, wasn't really going for it, wasn't really my thing. I just pretty much thought it was just a straight up fighting game, but little to my knowledge, it was actually a pretty in-depth, intricate wrestling game that had a lot of like RPG mechanics where you can customize your character to the way he looks, outfits you can wear. Bought it last year, played the hell of it. I can see what the hype is about this game. It's really going up the price now. I got this for less than $70 about a year and some change ago. So this was a good find, but now it's going up the price, especially this particular version. The first Def Jam, Vendetta. Never played this one. Like I just said, the first Def Jam game I played was Fight for New York, so I can't really say much about this, but if it's anything compared to a sequel, pretty sure this is a great game. Another rare find that I got last year from my good buddies at Steel Collectibles, Metal Gear Solid, The Twin Snakes. This is a remake of the original Metal Gear Solid that came out on the PS1 back in '98, if I remember the year. But yeah, pretty much just a remastered, slightly a retelling of the original Metal Gear that ran off the Metal Gear Solid 2's engine that it used back on PS2. Never finished this one. I only finished the original Metal Gear Solid on PS1, but I did hear that this one is pretty much leaps and bounds better than the original Metal Gear Solid. Pretty much takes everything from Metal Gear Solid and incorporates the engine out on Metal Gear Solid 2 to make this pretty much the best experience you can play for Metal Gear Solid. Turok Evolution. Turok is just, in general, one of my favorite first-person shooter franchise of all time. Remember, I rented this. I got to, I think, like the last, whatever space station it was back then. Never finished it. So, got it back. Definitely plan on finishing this again one day, but great game though. Future Tactics. I played this on one of the PlayStation 2 Underground demo discs. Never finished it, but I did like the combat aesthetics on there. It's kind of like chess a little bit, so you can move your characters to like these different types of tiles, and then you can aim for like different weapons and go for like different attacks and hit points and stuff like that. But kind of hard to explain, but I'll definitely have to go through and play this again one day on stream. Dead to Rights. I actually beat this when I first got my GameCube stuff back. This was actually a pretty good game. I think they had a sequel that came out on PS2 or whatever, but I played it, loved it, great game. It's definitely worthy of this M rating because there's a part where strip club, and yeah, they was butt naked on there. Tomb Raider Legends. Never played this when it first came out. People within the Tomb Raider community definitely saying it's kind of like the black sheep, but I was hearing kind of mixed things about it. Call of Duty 2, Big Red 1. I remember my older brother, he loves like World War II aesthetic games and just things of World War II in general. Like he's a real history buff. I used to watch him play this on the original Xbox like hundreds and hundreds of times. Call of Duty, Finest Hour, the first Call of Duty that came out. Actually, yeah, this is actually the first Call of Duty game that came out. Played it myself. Definitely is one of those games you can tell this a product of its time. Like definitely one of the things about first-person shooters in general. You can tell a lot of inspiration came from, which was this. And ooh, we get into some trilogies here that I like. Actually, let's start with the first one. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. I absolutely love this game, and if you're an OG fan of just Ubisoft games in general, you will know that this was pretty much the blueprint for what will later become the Assassin's Creed franchise. But Prince of Persia, love this game. The time mechanic you use to slow down, rewind, fast forward time was pretty revolutionary and innovative back in the time when it first came out. Absolutely fantastic game. Well, games just fell. Oh well, I'll check that out later. Prince of Persia, Warrior Within. Never played this one. I heard it was kind of a step back compared to the original Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. but never played it back in the day, so I'm definitely planning on going back through this again one day to see exactly what the issue was that fandoms had amongst it. Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones. I heard this one was a step back up from the original, well, from the sequel that came out. And this one, it took a lot of elements from the part 1 and part 2, some of which were good, some of which were bad, but you know, it kind of balanced it out to where it was not better than the original one, but it was definitely better than the second one. And next we got, well, this is not a trilogy, it's more so 4 games we got. But first up we got Splinter Cell, the original one. Sadly, we're not getting any Splinter Cell games from Ubisoft for whatever reason, not sure why, but original Splinter Cell, great game. One of the first for the tactical espionage games other than Metal Gear Solid, but really good game. Hopefully we'll get another installment to that one day. Knowing how Ubisoft operates nowadays, probably not, but whatever. Pandora Tomorrow. This one was just an overall improvement compared to the original Splinter Cell game. Better lighting, better environments, better game mechanics. Visually looked way better than the original one. Third we got, which was considered by fans as the greatest one in the entire franchise, Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. Never played it when it originally came out. No, actually no, I did play this originally when it came out, but I had the DS version, so it was the Super GIMP version of this. Those were back in the days. I just had fascination with having games that were like kind of mature rated and theme playing on my DS. I don't know why I had such a fascination with stuff like that. I used to get like Call of Duty games on like the DS and stuff, but I don't know, maybe I was just a masochist when it came to certain games and just how they operated. We got up next is Splinter Cell Double Agent. This was the final Splinter Cell game that come out on the 6th generation of systems. Never played this back in the day. I do remember hearing that the GameCube game was kind of atrocious in terms of just how it ran compared to like the PS3 and the 360 versions that came out back at the time. But I don't know, kind of wanted to complete the entire set on one system as opposed to, you know, having them split up amongst different systems. A Rainbow Six Lockdown. Never played the original Rainbow Six games when they first came out. Never played this one actually when it came out either. I played a little bit of it when I first got it in my collection. It was pretty decent. You kind of have something similar to what you did in some of the newer Rainbow Six games, like Rainbow Six Siege, where you have a team operator to where you can command your squad to, of course, take cover, like plant bombs, throw detonations. You can like raid different types of facilities, stuff like that. So it was pretty good. Ghost Recon 2. Never played this. The only reason I got it in my collection because I wanted to go back and play them through chronological order. So I'm missing the first one, but I got this one, so I don't plan on touching this one until I actually get the first one. Second Sight. This was made by Codemasters and Free Radical, and I think this was the same people who made the Time Splitters games. I haven't played it yet, but from what I remember, you control like this mentally diseased person to where he has like different psychokinetic abilities. Has combat that's kind of similar to Time Splitters, but in a third-person fashion. I heard this was actually a pretty good game. It was one of their first, if I remember correctly, that Free Radical had made. TrueCom New York. I played LA. I loved LA. That one was a pretty good game. I played this one. It runs absolutely ass on GameCube. Only reason I wanted to get this on GameCube was just to finish out the set. Gun. I wish I really known about this game back in the day when it originally first came out. This was pretty much the equivalent to what Red Dead Redemption, the first one that came out on the 360 was. I can definitely see the inspiration that came from that game, but yeah, this is pretty, I played this and it's a pretty amazing game. So just think of Red Dead Redemption just on a smaller scale, and it was on the GameCube. Tony Hawk's Underground 2, never played this one. I remember hearing a lot of outlandish things about this back in my middle school when the game first came out. This had, I think, Bam Margera on it, like one of the characters from Viva La Bam and Jackass, but pretty much take everything you remember from the original Tony Hawk's Underground and amp it up by like 100. Oh, this is actually my favorite Tony Hawk game of all time, Tony Hawk's Underground. The reason I love this game so much, because of course this one was, I believe, if I remember correctly, this was the first one that you can actually get off your skateboard and do like other activities besides just skateboarding. It was kind of similar to what some of the Grand Theft Auto games were back then, instead of like stealing cars and beating up people. Every Thanksgiving before we went to my grandmother's house, I used to actually sit down and play this for about a couple of hours before we would go over to my grandmother's house. It's kind of like a ritual thing I used to do. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. Never played this one originally when it came out, but I did hear that the franchise back when it was still very popular, this is where it peaked. So Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 was like the last great entry in the series. Ooh, a good one. Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. the greatest, well, there's not many Hulk games out there, but yeah, it's pretty much the greatest Hulk game that's ever made. Took a lot of elements from like beat 'em up games and just games that had like a lot of destructible environments and like chaos stuff you can do. Back then it was pretty chaotic, but yeah, this is the best Hulk game of all time, and it's just what made it so fun. You just destroy, break shit. I mean, it's Hulk smash. I love this one. Hunter the Reckoning. This came out on the PS2 and Xbox as well too. Great game. He plays these different, I think anywhere between 4 to 5 different demon slayers. One of my favorites was, I think his name was Redeemer or something like that. He was like a vampire hunter. He had a crossbow and axe, stuff like that. Rampage Total Destruction. Never played this originally when it first came out. TMNT 2 Battle Nexus, based on the 2003 Ninja Turtle series. This one pretty much took a lot of scenes from the animated series from the 2003 series, and you just played through different arcs within that story. I think it went up into the Battle Nexus Championship arc too. It was kind of similar to like the Tournament of Power, like Dragon Ball Super, if you ever watched that. Next up we got TMNT, well, the first one of part of the 2003 Ninja Turtle series. I went back and played this recently, and nostalgia is definitely a hell of a drug. Still a pretty good game, but a lot more simplified than I originally remember when I first played it, when me and my brother first played it. Soul Calibur 2. The best thing about this game that I remember is just you having Link that was on it. And this came out on the PS2 and Xbox originally when it first came out, and each system had its own respective original and I think exclusive character they had on there. PS2 had Hitachi from, I think it was from Tekken, and Xbox had Spawn. I do remember that, but none of those compared to Link though. Link's moveset, it was godly. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. I remember me and my brother played the hell out of this game. This was back when you actually had to have the Game Boy Advance adapters in order to connect up to your GameCube to play multiplayer. So in order to actually play this multiplayer, you had to have separate Game Boy adapters to actually play this. Ooh, an infamous game to a franchise that people desperately want a sequel to. Beyond Good and Evil. This was a sleeper hit when it first came out originally. Another favorite of mine. Gauntlet Dark Legacy. This one is going up in price surprisingly. It wasn't really that hard to find back then. I'm not sure why it's going up in price now. I got this a few months ago, and the best thing about this is, of course, it's very similar to a Diablo. So it's a Diablo-esque clone to where you can play with different various characters. So you have like the Knight, the Mage, the Jester, and what is this, a Viking. Fire Emblem, Path of Radiance. I remember originally getting this from Blockbuster when I rented it. And I remember after I got that rented, I was like, oh, I gotta get this. I gotta buy it, add to my collection. So this is actually my original one that I still had all these years. And then I checked about 3 or so years ago and saw the price on this is pretty much insane. I'm not sure why. I'm probably taking it that maybe not too many copies were released in the States, so that's probably why the prices have gone up. Next we got Crazy Taxi, the re-release on the GameCube. I had it originally on the Dreamcast when it first came out. Only reason I got this on GameCube because I think it was like one of the first launch release titles for the GameCube. I had it originally on the Dreamcast, but I can't remember the life of me what happened to my Dreamcast version. So Evolution Worlds. I remember playing the original one on the Dreamcast, if I remember correctly. This one has both the original Evolution game and Evolution 2 all rolled into one. So it's called Evolution because it actually has 1 and 2 built in. So instead of it being 2 separate games, it's just one game. And kind of similar to Skies of Arcadia. So I remember it was a pretty decent game. Not remembered by too many RPG enthusiasts, but I do remember that me personally, this is one of my favorite RPG games. Oh, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. When it came out originally, the Wii version, since a lot of people were using the Wii remote for their right hands, Link is left-handed, so actually this game is mirrored from the Wii version. So actually this one is the original game in its entirety, just in terms of just Link being left-handed. This is my personal favorite I got in my whole GameCube collection. Skies of Arcadia Legends. This thing right here, easily one of the best RPGs ever made. I really either want a sequel from this or just a remaster. Very underrated, adding a lot of content that was left out of the original release when it first came on Dreamcast in the States. Metal Arms, which is very similar to Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter. Shadow the Hedgehog. Best thing I'm saying about this is one of the worst Sonic games ever. So the only reason I got this is just for nostalgia's sake. But in terms of just playing it, it's not a good game at all. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle originally came out on the Dreamcast. This one was considered a downgrade from the original one, but this one just has the multiplayer aesthetics on it. They added a couple more things into it. That's what has the subtitle Battle below it. Sonic Adventure DX Director's Cut. Pretty much just the director's cut version of the original Sonic Adventure that came out on Dreamcast. So if you played that version, pretty much the same as this with some extra added stuff to it. Sonic Heroes. This was pretty much the beginning of the downfall of the Sonic franchise in my personal opinion. Not saying it was a bad game at all, but you can definitely tell the overall quality of the games of the franchise in general just started going down. So this one in particular, good game. Sonic Riders. I remember beating it, but I can't remember too much about it in terms of just if I remember liking it or not. I just remember it looked pretty cool because the animated videos that they had for the intro, that's all. And my first introduction to a lot of the classic Sonic series when they first came out, Sonic Mega Collection. Pretty much just a compilation of Sonic 1, 2, 3, back when 3 didn't have that licensing issue. Sonic & Knuckles, Sonic 3D Blast, Pinball, and Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. This is actually the only sealed GameCube game that I have in my whole collection. Sonic Gems Collection. Not sure if you can really see it all that much. The reason I remember getting this was mainly for Sonic CD and Sonic R. Sonic R is a terrible game, but that soundtrack though, soundtrack, my personal opinion, the best Sonic soundtrack. Mega Man X Command Mission. The first Mega Man X, well, just the first Mega Man RPG in general. This was hard as hell when I first got it when it originally first came out on the PS2. But I decided to get it on GameCube because I was hearing that it wasn't having as many load issues, and just in terms of how the game ran, it didn't run better on the GameCube, so I decided to go ahead and cop it on this. But if you're a Mega Man fan, definitely recommend getting this. If you're an RPG enthusiast, doesn't really break the mold too much in terms of just what other RPG games do, so you might want to skip out on this. Oh no, you might want to try it too. Spyro: A Hero's Tale. I remember seeing hella commercials about this on Toys R Us back when it first came out. Easily the worst Spyro game ever made. Spyro Into the Dragonfly. I remember it made headlines years ago when I think a kid had a seizure because of like a lot of flashy lines they had on it. One of the first bad Crash games that came out. Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex, which was called Crash Bandicoot 4 in Japan, but you know, of course they rectified that years later, pretty much retconning all those other Crash games out. But yeah, this was the first official 4 that we got back in the day. Crash Tag Team Racing. Never played this one. I played Crash Nitro Kart. Don't have that on my collection yet, but definitely plan on getting that back. But I do remember this one took a lot of inspiration from Mario Kart Double Dash. Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg on GameCube. I remember renting this, and also I remember not really liking all that much. So, maybe it was one of the games that was acquired taste, but I do hear that it is pretty good amongst the fandom who likes games like these. Bomberman Generations. It had a lot of elements from like Pokemon. He had like different monsters and stuff that you can catch, and he had like vehicles that you could ride on. And this one was not open world, but it was kind of like semi-open world to where you can go to like various places. Pretty good game. So if you're a Bomberman fan, definitely recommend getting this. And it's only on GameCube too, so Pac-Man World 2. I played this originally on the PS2 when it came out. I do remember thoroughly enjoying it back then. I got this one last year and played it again. It's actually a really good fun platform, a really good game. Yeah, it's a really good game. And Pac-Man, of all things. But yeah, if you love platformers, definitely recommend getting this. Rayman 3, Hoodlum Havoc. This one is probably my second favorite Rayman game of all time. But yeah, really good action platformer. It's hilarious as hell too. If you're looking for like really good platformer games, like especially the one I just showed with the Pac-Man World 2, Rayman, Hoodlum Havoc, yeah, really good game. Now we're getting down to a lot of the classics for the GameCube series. This one, of course, needs no introduction. Smash Bros. Melee. One of the best-selling games on GameCube. If you don't know about Smash Bros. Melee, then I don't know about it. Mario Golf Toadstool Tour. Got it. That was gonna be fun. It's actually kind of hard as hell to play. Wasn't really into golf games. The only reason I got this because I heard that some people like these games, but I played it. Wasn't really my thing, but I don't know. I'm kind of an impatient person when it comes to like some older games, so I might go back one day. Geist. Never played this when it first came out. I do remember hearing it was something similar to like the Fear franchise when it first came out, to where you take control of this disembodied spirit to where you can possess like different objects. You possess people, fire hydrant and stuff like that, to where you can like scare different people, and then once their fear meter gets to a certain level, you can then take them over and then have them do other stuff for you. So it was a really weird game back when it first came out. Definitely something Nintendo's not really known for making, but yeah, and it was an M-rated game, and back then Nintendo wasn't really messing with too many M-rated games back then, or mature themed games, but they decided to give this a try. A Star Fox Adventure. This one, I remember getting this when it first came out. I never beat it. This was back, I used to watch my older brother play a lot of these games. I used to sit there and watch it, to where I felt like I beat it just by watching them so much. But I definitely plan on going back and completing this myself one day. But yeah, overall, it was a pretty good game. And it was one of the, if I remember correct, this is one of the last games that was published by Rare. Yeah, by Rare on Nintendo systems. But yeah, pretty good game. The first Star Fox game to take them out of the cockpit and actually have hand-to-hand combat. So it's pretty polarizing amongst the Star Fox community, but I didn't really hear too many bad things about it. Now we're getting down to a game that a lot of people don't really remember or know too much about, but it's probably my favorite fighting game on the GameCube. That would be Custom Robo. It's very similar to, ain't really too many games I can really compare this to, but this is very similar to, if you're familiar with the Virtual On franchise that was on Sega Saturn and Sega Dreamcast. It was kind of similar to that, to where you play with these different type of robots. You can customize them. They had anywhere from between, I think it was 8 to 20 different robots you can customize on here. They had different like guns and pods and stuff that you can launch. You can shoot missiles, have machine guns, stuff like that. It was not isometric, but it had a exaggerated zoomed out camera angle to where you can see the entire battlefield. And it's kind of hard to explain actually, but yeah, this is a really good fighting game. I definitely plan on streaming this again and pretty soon actually. Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. And thanks to my good friend Mr. Rightway, we went to a pawn shop that was located somewhere in Smyrna, and this was one of the games I was actually looking for. So it was one of those places that was like off in the cut, to where you didn't know they had video games until you actually went in, and they had the entire treasure trove of just PS2, Xbox, GameCube. They had some Super Nintendo, NES, stuff like that. And in the top row, I found this. And this is actually going up in price just because of the anticipation of Metroid Prime 4, and Metroid in general has just a resurgence going on. So these games in particular are going up in price. This one, when I found it, I got it for I think $30 even, and this one is going for anywhere between $60 to $80 now. And the best thing about this, it came with the entire insert. So from the manuals, the advertisement for Scrap, Nintendo Power, stuff like that, it came with all this stuff. And I got it for $35. So yeah, shout out to Mr. Rightway for hooking me up on this. Let's see, next we got so many games. They falling, y'all, they falling. The first Metroid Prime, I remember when I first got this, it looked very similar to Halo, so it was technically very impressive, technically sound. I never personally, I played it some, but it was my older brother who finished this for me. So, but yeah, it was a really good game. The first person Metroid game they released, critically acclaimed, one of the best games that came out in that year, 2002. But yeah, really good game. And one of my personal favorites on the GameCube as well, Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. I played this for the first time actually last year. I can really see the appeal for this game because it's one of these games that delves deep on like the psychological horror. So they have like a few jump scares and stuff like that on here, but it really plays into the psychological horror aspect of like different things, to where there's one particular level to where you're walking down the hallway and the game will literally just turn down the volume on your TV. So it does stuff like that. I would get like further into it, but you know, it does a lot of things that a lot of horror games are taking inspiration from nowadays. But Eternal Darkness is definitely one of the sleeper hits of the GameCube. Definitely underrated, one of the best games on that system. And last but not least, and actually this is the first game I got on my GameCube when it first came out, Luigi's Mansion. Of course, the GameCube, when it originally released, it was lacking the Mario game. So when you like Mario, you got Luigi. And in my personal opinion, this was definitely one of the best Mario games I played on release. I know a lot of people say N64 Mario was like the best like Mario game, like in general, but this one is definitely my favorite. Don't tell too many people, but I personally think this is better than Mario 64. And yeah, the first GameCube game I ever got on my system. But yeah, that's it. That's my entire GameCube collection. Yeah, this video is probably going to be about like 50 minutes long, but I'm probably going to shorten it less than that. But yeah, I had a lot of games I had to get through. and I forgot just how many just in general that I had over time. But yeah, I've been amassing my retro collection and really my GameCube collection a lot, because like I said, this is my favorite video game systems of all time, and I've just been working on building that library. I still have a lot more games that I have to get for it, but yeah, it's been an incredible journey, just being able to play through and go and hunt and search for different games that I personally grew up through as a child that I love, and being able to experience a lot of games that I didn't have a chance to play back then, and just having a new perspective on it, just going through it and playing it. But yeah, like that's it. That's my entire GameCube collection so far. Well, I don't know if I showed this off too, but I also have the GameCube Game Boy player adapter. This thing is going for a freaking fortune now. So if you're looking to play GameCube, well, if you're looking to play Game Boy Advance games on your GameCube to play on bigger TV, yeah, you're gonna have to pay quite the premium for this thing, because the hardest thing to find is the disc. But yeah, that'll be it. I greatly appreciate you guys sitting here and going through down memory lane through a lot of the GameCube games, especially during its 20-year anniversary. So happy anniversary to your GameCube. And yeah, definitely many more years to come, especially with the Switch, how that's turning out. Hopefully they'll add GameCube games to that, but you know how Nintendo to be Nintendo one, as I always be calling it. But yeah, I greatly appreciate you guys hanging out with me. If you haven't already done so, make sure to go ahead and subscribe. I greatly appreciate that. Drop a comment down below, let me know how I did. And until next time, I appreciate you guys, love you all, and to everlasting peace, MegaZX456 signing out. Have a good one, guys.